Yes, indeed. Anton, can you hear me? Well, that's a good change, isn't it? Fantastic. Yeah, she's gone. Same. It was the same as me last week, wasn't it? Correct. Yeah, I checked it out. It's exactly what the problem is.
Hello.
Hi, Nadine.
Hello. My hate for Teams grows every time I use it.
Oh,
Sorry, Anton.
pain in the rear, it really is.
Hello, everybody. Sorry to ring
Hi.
doom and gloom.
Hi, Nadine. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. If you will.
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Thank you, Anton. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nadine Campbell. I am a founder, advisor, and strategic consultant. I run a company called Ace Entrepreneurs, which helps underrepresented founders start their business, grow their business, and go through to funding. We also have a biannual event called Ace Fest, where we do pitch rooms and pitch competitions and have growth seminars and panels. One of my favorite things to do is to help founders get their business up off the ground and growing. So I'm really excited to be here and I look forward to all of your questions. Thank you, Anton.
Hi everyone, my name's Dave Jones and I've spent the last 25 years or so, I guess, working in and around B2B technology companies. I've spent a lot of that time helping both tech startups and those established tech companies navigate their growth journeys. These days though, I'm a fractional CMO and a marketing consultant, and I typically work with growth stage businesses to help them develop clear, practical go-to-market strategies. And I've been perfectly honest, I love nothing more than helping tech companies find a balance between their technical brilliance and something that customers actually understand and actually want to buy. So thrilled to be here today. Anton, thank you for the invite.
Hi, my name is Miles Lewis. I have a background in media until about 5 years ago, and as it stands, joined AOL in 2001, went through the music departments of Last FM, Shazam. I've seen 2 exits. Recently worked with an AI company called Myriad, which is product placement. Currently, rather like Dave, doing consultancy work, but also fractional work for a number of startups. I'm actually working with one with agri-tech, which is completely different to media, and helping go-to-market strategy, helping with the commercial side of things from a point of view of how to get products and services into the right hands to purchase. Thanks.
Hey everyone, my name is Barry Rodriguez, and I am the founder of NextGen Digital. We help early stage B2B startups scale using a framework that we've developed. It comprises understanding their ideal customer profile, to building a demand generation engine, to eventually building something like a tech stack that they can follow through their marketing with. I started out marketing in the traditional sense back in the old days. I don't know about you guys, but when people used to still send approvals by fax machines, and I've moved on from there. In a lot of ways, I kind of do something similar to Dave. I'm also a fractional CMO, and I advise our early stage B2B startups. So yeah, thanks, Anton, for having me.
That is a stellar panel, and I thank you all, and I'm very grateful for your help. Really appreciate that. Just before we go on to the do's and don'ts of early stage growth, just a quick reminder, I can see a few pings from the live stream. So again, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, unfortunately, we are unable to monitor your questions. So if you do want to ask our panel anything, you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only. Quickest way is to either click on the link under each of those live streams or simply go onto our site, startup2scaleup.club. Find today's session, which is very easy to Startup Growth Q&A 151. Click join. Quick registration gets you a link to your email, and through that link, then you can join us here. For those of you that are already here or those that will make it here, all you have to do is just drop your question in the chat. We'll then give you the mic and you can ask the panelists. So when it comes to early stage, more often than not, most startups tend to make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. What would you say are some important do's and don'ts when it comes to that early stage growth? And by the way, don't worry about repeating yourself in case you think you might have mentioned it in the past, and try not to use the same logic for both do and don't. Perhaps we can start with Miles, then Nadine, and then Barry, and last but not least, Dave, please.
Thanks, Anton. There is about 3 or 4 hours worth of discussions you could have around this, but try and distill it. The most critical part for me is making sure you're not 6 miles wide and 1 inch deep. And what I mean about that is your product or service potentially, and you can run away with your desire, could potentially be open to a number of customers, business to business, business to consumer, whatever it is. It's really critical at the start to have a very defined lane you're going after. I mean, that could be multiple lanes, but it's very, very easy to find yourself bouncing around, trying to do far too much, when the reality of the situation is that if you broke those situations down into smaller bite-sized chunks, you can get it going. Example for you is one client I'm working with right now wanted to launch nationally. There's 3 people in the business. That's almost impossible to do. So we're going to focus on one city in the United Kingdom, prove the concept, effectively launch a beta, but then have the framework in which to launch nationally. And what that's done overnight is suddenly focus the minds and allowed those 3 founders to really focus on what their offering is going to be. And it's definitely transformed the conversations we're having. So focus is what I would say.
Okay, so I'll jump in with my do. My background is in corporate marketing. I worked in corporate marketing for a couple of decades, worked with the smallest of brands to the largest of brands in the world. And one thing that is a constant across everything is planning and planning ahead. We have something what we call, annual planning, quarterly planning, tactical planning, but the common thread here is to plan. And this really helps you stay on track with what you're trying to achieve and keeps you focused to whatever your North Star is. So if you're trying to get customers, everything you're doing should be going towards acquiring customers and not busying yourself with tasks that don't necessarily achieve that particular goal. So my definite do is to do planning, keep it loose, keep it agile. Yes, you can change that while you're on the fly, but ultimately you should be planning towards some common objectives across a period so you can properly measure to see if the effectiveness of that works. I've got a quick don't, and the don't is don't build in complete isolation. At the moment, I think remote working is, well, I know remote working is the norm now. Having done it for the last 12 years, and working freelance for the last 12 years, I know now this is very common. But what happens as a result of that is you are doing a lot of work by yourself, and therefore you are probably using ChatGPT or AI to be your sounding board. But actually, you need to go outside and beyond that and speak to customers and ensure that what you're building or what you're updating in your current company is actually fit for purpose. So do plan ahead and plan with agility, and don't just work in isolation. Ensure that you're out there speaking to other people and your idea is valid. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to echo what was said earlier. I think one of the many biggest problems that I see founders face, and I've been doing this for the last 5 years, is a lot of times founders have technically very sound products. They may or may not have validated those products. I mainly deal with SaaS and tech, and a lot of times they have really good products, but they don't really have a good understanding of how to take that product to market. And 9 out of 10 times the validation will come internally. I think those of you who've read the MOM test know what I'm talking about. You need to go out and get validation from external sources. So those would be one of the 2 don'ts, I would say. One of the 2 do's. Get your product or idea validated by non-biased people. People are gonna, and I think the best people to do that would be investors, because investors look at it from a completely different perspective, and they're not there to to make you feel happy about yourself. They just want to see how and when the returns are going to come. So those are the things that they're gonna ask when you go and make a pitch eventually. What is your customer acquisition cost? What is your customer lifetime value? And how are you going to get those customers? So plan around that strategy, and don't just work on building a great product without having a plan to take that product to market. And the second thing I would say is always experiment when it comes to marketing and when it comes to getting traction. I see a lot of people do something that one of their other founder friends has done, and who they're probably successful doing. And just because it's worked for someone else, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So always test and validate and keep experimenting, and keep a log. As a growth hacker, I'd say keep a log of experiments, and that way you'll figure out you need to scale as fast as possible. And when I mean scale, not just your company, but I mean you have to scale the experiments that you're doing. So keep those logs of experiments, figure out what works, figure out what doesn't work, and whatever works, double down on those, and what doesn't work, just stop doing that. And in terms of the don'ts, and this, by the way, I speak from my own personal experience. I see a lot of people, because especially early stage founders, I think the onus is on saving money and trying to do everything themselves. I would say don't do that. Do whatever you're good at, but if it's something that you're not good at, like I'm not, I hate accounting. I hate numbers. So if you're not good at something, go and find a profession to do it. That's just my piece of advice. That's the don't.
Thank you
All
very
right, there's
much.
always
And
a
last but
challenge.
not least, Dave.
Thank you, Anton. There's always a challenge coming forth in a great panel like this, because there's not a lot of great advice that's left. So I'm going to go a little bit philosophical instead of tactical, for my do at least. I think the thing that I would say you have to do is trust in your passion, believe in yourself. Remember that you're here for a reason. And look, there's always going to be people who tell you that you're going to fail, that you can't do something, that what you're doing is wrong. Ignore them. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and go follow that passion. So the philosophical do. For my don't, I'm going to echo what Barry said to a degree, but with a slight twist. So don't think that your product will sell itself, because it won't. It doesn't matter how good it is, it will not sell itself. You need to establish your presence. You need to listen to your market. And you need to deliver an offering that resonates with your audience and offers them a genuine solution to a genuine problem that they have, not just a fancy bit of technology or a fancy solution that interests you. It has to be relevant to the market and to the audience that you're selling into.
My God, that is some amazing stuff, and I really appreciate you all. Right here. For those of you that have just joined us, this is Startup Growth Q&A. It's our 151st session. We've been doing these for just over 4 years, and we're here to help you grow your business from zero to hero. Your questions today can be on anything to do with growth, whether that's user, vendor, partner, client acquisition, growth hacks, go-to-market, sales, marketing, advertising, branding, and all that jazz. There literally are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy, because it's a learning curve for us all. Now, if you, on the other hand, and I'm sorry, because we've got the door, and somebody's at the door, so I just need to quickly grab this, and I'll carry on with. So, salespeople at the door. This is brilliant. So, if you've got any of such questions, please join us here on Microsoft Teams. I see there's a few of you on the other live streams, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. Unfortunately, we are unable to monitor your questions there. So if you've got any questions about growing your business, you need to be here on our audio only call on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is go to our website, startuptoscaleup.club. Find today's session, which is Startup Growth Q&A 151. You click join. It's a quick registration. That gets you a link to your email, and through that link, you can tune in here. Once you make it here, and for those that are here already, simply drop your question in the chat. We'll then give you the mic, and then you can ask our amazing panelists. We are only going to be here now for the next 39 minutes. So my advice would be, don't leave your question for too late, because then we'll run out of time. we'll go on to the first question. And by the way, if your questions today are not on growth, please save them for the other events we run. So to give you an idea, we do a Q&A on talent on Mondays. Tuesdays, it's product and tech. Wednesdays, as you can see, today's growth. Tomorrow on Thursdays, it's fundraising with investors. Second Friday of each month, which will be this Friday, it's UK startup law. And third Friday of each month, it's UK startup finances. That all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And actually, you can register an RSVP to any of them via our site, startup2scaleup.club. By the way, when you're there, why not also join our WhatsApp community? We've got some amazing groups of founders, investors, and operators. But now, without further ado, we'll go on to the first question. I'll read it out loud for the people that are still on the live stream. So, by the way, team, if you can take about a minute each to answer this question, I'd really appreciate it so that we can go through a few questions. So this is from cool. This is from a husband and wife co-founding team. They're edtech co-founders in Newcastle at a pre-seed. And then she goes on to say, both our children had learning difficulties. We're developing a personalized learning platform for students with learning disabilities. But acceptance from educational institutions is quite a hurdle. How can we effectively demonstrate our platform's value and adaptability to schools? Should we focus on pilot programs or gather testimonials from parents and educators to build our case? Right, so for this one, what we can do is we can start perhaps with Barry. Then we go on to Nadine. Then we'll go on to Dave, and then we'll go on to Miles. Your 1 minute of glory starts now, Barry.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, sorry, I had 5 seconds going to just find the unmute button. No,
that's cool. Carry on.
I would say you've actually got you've already got the solution to your problem there. I'd say focus on running pilot programs find a few willing schools that are willing to take on the pilot, and then use the findings to showcase real world impact and adaptability. You got to use that data, use that feedback from these pilots to gather some testimonials. And you can do it from the schools and from the educators as well as the parents. And that, I believe, will help you reinforce your credibility. And you can do that, and you can combine that with other sort of surveys and things like that. I think pilot programs are really good because, and by the way, I'm kind of working on something very similar. Well, not similar, but similar to a certain extent. And I've realized being engaged with the parent community is really, really crucial, because getting people to start initially, especially with schools in the UK, is really difficult because people have 101 things. And as we all know, schools are extremely underfunded as well, and they're not as motivated as corporates. So you have to go the extra mile. You've got to put in some personal touch, go and do some personal one-on-one networking with the parents to make sure that they start adopting the product. And then gather some user feedback, and then say, hey, go to the schools and then ask them for some extra validated feedback. But yeah, pilot programs, the best way to do it.
I'll jump in on this. I totally agree with testimonials, so I won't mention that at all. What I would say is focus on send. So at the moment in the UK, send is in a bit of a mess, and I think if you have anything that's going to help with that, you'll be seen as a godsend. So align your priorities to what the send children currently need, and that's special education needs and disabilities. They need a lot of tools, and there's a lot of children that are not in school at the moment. So what you can do is see how your platform aligns to particular they're called EHCP, educational health and care plan, and you'll know this if you're running that business, or goals that support SENDCO as well, and that's the special education needs and deliveries. So you can build your pitch around those particular needs, which means you're honing in on a niche, and the niche is absolutely needed right now. The government is struggling to support this, so if you're able to focus on this one particular group. So what I'd also say as a second part to this is, again, as our last speaker said, schools don't have any money. They barely have enough money to pay the teachers. So if you can offer a pilot for a significant amount of time, and because of who you're targeting, you will need a longer duration to do that pilot. So I would say 3 months would be adequate. And then onboard one class, stick with that class or cohort, follow their outcomes, good and bad. So it shows that you're improving areas that perhaps you didn't see until you actually started doing the program. And then you can provide that support ongoing as well as feedback. And it shows that you're working in tandem with the schools and not just trying to sell them something. So yeah, definitely do a pilot, focus on one niche, and then you can even take it to the government because they need help in this area, and I think they'll be absolutely open to it, which gives you then a door back into the educational institutions. So good luck. Also, one last thing I'm going to say, I think I haven't gone over my minute. I work with a company that actually specializes in neurodiversity in learning. So if you ping me a message, I will connect you with them, and they might be able to help you with your business. Thanks very much. That's me done.
Thank you.
First off, going to say, great solution. We need offerings like this, so kudos to you for coming up with this and delivering this and taking it through. And I can't, go against the advice of the first two panelists. I think that makes perfect sense. One thing that I'm going to suggest, though, is maybe looking at your route to market in a slightly different way. We all know that schools are time challenged, budget challenged. Even putting the time into looking at something like this is going to stretch them potentially to the limits. So I'd go with maybe a pincer movement. So one way to look at this is to go to the parents of children with learning disabilities and get them using your solution, get them as advocates. The other one would be to go to the school collectives, if you like. A lot of schools now don't act in isolation, right? They're part of a collective. If you go to the collective, then the collective can potentially look at how they can deliver your solution to multiple schools at the same time. So essentially almost bypass the school, because that's going to be the biggest challenge, and come at it from both sides. And at that point, the school will have little option but to take your solution.
So it's always hard going last, because you've got to try and find a new route into advice, because actually, Barry, Nadine, Dave, you're all absolutely right. And I think, Dave, if you hadn't mentioned that dual route, I was going to bring it up, because I think really, really rightly, is that a good word to use? Probably not. As Nadine said, the SEND situation in schools, we've got a son who's got ADHD, is an absolute nightmare right now. And the schools are struggling, especially with the influx of children coming from the private sector who are suddenly being dumped on the state system, which wasn't able to cope in the first place. So I think to back up and to mirror what Dave was saying, I'd absolutely focus on parents. I'd absolutely focus on a self-delivery platform as a dual route to market, because it will take schools and their governance teams maybe years in order to actually finally agree, because they have to go through certain protocol. But parents straight away can go, this is fantastic. Get some case studies, and as Nadine said, you suddenly got a case study and you can push it through. So absolutely back up everything saying, but definitely go for dual route to market.
Well, thank you very much to all four of you. That was amazing. As the father of an autistic child, I can totally second most of the stuff that was said here, but mainly that the school system, unfortunately, with all the good intentions, they are struggling big time. And trying to get schools to pay for this, sometimes to even try to get schools to try it for free, will take you months, if not years. So my advice, what I would focus on is, if you haven't got the money to roll out yourself to parents and various other communities, try and find some kind of grants, some philanthropic organization that will fund you enough to roll it out to people for free, enough for you to build a sufficient bank, let's call it, of data and case studies, so that then you can go with that to either central government or perhaps organizations that already have contracts and agreements in place with either schools or local education boards, or go directly to your whichever local authority, the education board there, because getting a school to agree to do that for you, in my experience, will just be, obviously nothing's impossible, but it would be extremely hard. So I second what most of the panelists have said, to at least try that dual market route. Right here, we now have 28 minutes to go. We've got time for a few more questions. I'm glad there's a few people here on Microsoft Teams. Don't be shy, drop your question in the chat. We'll then give you the mic and you can ask these amazing panelists. For those of you that have just joined us, whether it's here on the audio call on Microsoft Teams or the live streams, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, we're here to help founders grow your business from zero to hero. We're taking questions on anything to do with your business growth, because I believe that sales pretty much kills everything when it comes to business. So enough of those will take you far. Now, if you want to ask us questions, you can do so, but we are unable to monitor questions on the live stream. So those on the live streams need to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Those here, simply drop your question in the chat. But now I'll go on to our second question. This is a pre-seed agritech side hustle. That's an interesting one. Near Edinburgh, team of two co-founders. One is a techie, one commercial. They're at pre-seed. Planning to go all in mid autumn. Sorry, we're developing a platform for farmers to collaborate on sustainable practices, but attracting users has been slow. What strategies can we employ to build a community of engaged farmers? Should we consider organizing workshops or networking events to facilitate connections? And how can we incentivize initial participation? Was it Dave or Miles who are working in agritech at the moment? Miles, right?
Yeah, it's me.
Good. So we'll start with Miles. We'll then go on to Dave, then Barry, and last but not least, Nadine, please. Let's try and keep it a minute each, please, team.
Really interesting question. And we actually had a very similar one a few weeks back in the agri-tech space. You've got to bear in mind right now, farmers are really busy. And, you know, what with the very, very dry spring, they are all over the place from a point of view of protecting their crops, and also then now taking a lead on managing to get the crops in, harvesting. So I don't think right now is the most fantastic time to be launching this side hustle. Now you have, and the question is very pertinent. You want to go with old snail mail. I would personally write a letter to these people. They're very unlikely to be technically savvy in terms of email and email marketing. With the agritech company I'm working for, we did exactly this. We went back to old school direct marketing, and we had a success rate of responses, not of sales, but a success rate of responses of 40%. It was amazing. So
wow.
Yeah. So
when was that? Is that recent, Miles?
This was in, where are we now? This was in May.
Yeah. Wow. And how much did you manage to get the price down per letter or per whatever you sent?
Well,
oh, you don't know.
We know we did it very manually. So we actually typed a number of different formats of letter up. We wrote them as a team. I think we had 3 or 4 different versions, and then we literally did it. So we did a few thousand to get out to the farmers, and we started with the likes of Clarkson. You know, obviously he's well known.
But, no, what I mean is the few thousand. Did you send it via Royal Mail or did you hand deliver them?
Yeah, Royal Mail.
Royal
first class stamps, Royal Mail.
Okay.
It was a great, for me, it was a big learning curve actually, because I thought direct mail was dead. But I think it depends. I mean, obviously that's not going to be it's not going to work with all industries, and it's not going to work with everybody, but especially for agri-tech and especially for farmers, I personally would take a step back in time in that sense.
Here, thank you very much for that. Okay, I think we said next Miles, then Barry, then Nadine, please. Dave, then Barry, then Nadine. My bad.
All right, all good. There's one word in here which is causing me to get prickles all down my neck, and it's the word community. And community, when you're launching anything, to a lot of people, poses problems, right? So getting a community together means that you need to have enough people in there to make the community functional. That's a challenge when you're starting a business, because typically you want to raise funds or you want to generate revenue. And a lot of people in a community won't go there unless they can try it, they can test it, they can see value from it. And most communities, most online communities certainly nowadays, don't get funded by pure community membership. They get funded by sort of add-ons and all of those pieces. So I think getting crystal clear on exactly what your community needs to look like, exactly what the business model is with regards to getting people in that community in the first place, showing them the value that they're going to get from that community, and then figuring out how you monetize that downstream, it is going to be critical. But you know what Miles said, one of the biggest challenges you're going to have there or with this audience is the technology, and the fact that a lot of farmers aren't necessarily technology savvy. A lot of them are, but not all of them. So I think figuring out what, how you describe this, talking about a platform for farmers to collaborate on will put a lot of them off, I would imagine. So figuring out the right language for this, figuring out the offering, and then figuring out exactly what you want that community to be will be critical.
Yep, absolutely agree.
Yes, Barry.
I really like the first suggestion, snail mail. Snail mail is really awesome. We tried it out 6 months ago, and I think this is something not just for the farmers or for the agri-tech industry, but it's just in general. People like receiving mail because there's only so much amount of like electronic junk mail that you're going to look forward to, and eventually you get to a point where you see something with your name in the post, you run to the door, you open that letter, you go, wow, this is actually it's a printed piece of paper, and you can smell the piece of paper. So it's really nice having that mail, and that mail works regardless of whether they're tech savvy or not. It will work. I would say try that approach, but on a more strategic level, I would say maybe try and approach it from like perhaps like an ambassador program where you recruit a bunch of farmers locally within the Edinburgh area, that in the neighborhood, people, farmers that are passionate about what they do, respected within their community, people that will champion your platform within their networks, within the people that they hang out with. Give them access, give them, I don't know, training, maybe even reward them. It doesn't have to be a monetary reward. It can be a non-monetary reward. And I think this peer-driven approach, it can really help build trust. And that's really, really important. You need to build trust in a very, very organic way, because like some of the other panelists said, these people are most likely not very tech savvy. They're not on social media. So the only way you can do that is by building trust through these, I'm going to say, quote unquote, community-led initiatives. And then also try and showcase some of the, when you're running these pilot programs, try and showcase some of the benefits, right? Talk about, I don't know what the technical stuff is here, but talk about, let's say, improved yield, or how farmers can save money, cost savings, or perhaps even the environmental impact. There's so many things that you can talk about in the end, but it's all about building that community. That it doesn't have to be a big community. It just has to be a very quality focused community that has one growth North Star metric or growth metric or whatever it is.
Last but not least, Nadine, yes, please.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm not going to pretend I don't know anything about agri-tech, but I'm going to tackle this in a way I would tackle anything in terms of starting a business and growing a business. I believe in community first. It's changed, in my opinion, from when we went to revenue first as traction. I think community as traction is a really brilliant one, and we've used that model to leverage, and it works. And it works right now in this modern time. So I'm going to take a slightly different angle, because I think all the advice has been absolutely brilliant by the experts and people that know about this a bit more than me. If you would like to look at those that could help spread the word for you, I think that would be a good angle. So I thought that if it's low tech, probably YouTube is going to be the best platform for you. Side note, my mum loves gardening, and I've just discovered that there's like 1 billion gardening influencers on YouTube. They're actually quite interesting when you get into them. So I imagine there's going to be exactly the same for agriculture and farming. I've seen a number of shows that are about farming coming out now and down on the YouTube stream. There's one I remember, it's Ben Andrews. He has like organic mixed farming, has quite a lot of followers on Instagram. I think he's almost got 100k. I would think about going down that angle to help spread your message in a tone and a way that resonates with the audience that you're trying to get in contact with. The other thing I would say to you on a side note is try to stick to 1 or 2 topics first. Our last panelist just said there's a million things you can talk about, and I think you'll get there in the end, but I think you need to be known for something first. So pick the area you want to specialize in, get some influencers. They don't have to be huge, but they just have to have some kind of following to help you share the message, and hone in on that so you can grow the trust first, and then you can sort of spread out and monetize and do all the other great ideas that you've talked about in your question. Good luck. All the best.
Nadine, was that Ben Andrews?
Thank you very much.
Ben Andrews, yes, that's right, isn't it?
No, I literally no idea, so I was going to do a search.
I'm going to share it with you.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
That's it. There you go. Here's a lead for Miles. Well, thank you very much to all 4 of you on that. We'll go on to our next question now. We've only got 17 minutes to go, so if you do want to ask our team anything, I think the time is now. But anyway, let's read the 3rd question. This is a university spin fintech co-founder out of Birmingham pre-seed. So our subscription box service focuses on women's health and wellness products, but we're struggling to attract and retain subscribers. What marketing strategies can we employ to differentiate our services in a crowded market? Should we consider referral programs, influencer partnerships, or targeted social media campaigns to boost awareness and drive sales? We can start with Barry, then Nadine, then Dave, and then Miles, please.
Sorry, I always have to. It's always a struggle finding that mute button. You've kind of, I think most of the guys that are asking these questions have done quite a bit of due diligence. So those are the first 3 things that I would do. I would definitely do referral programs, influencer partnerships, and social media campaigns. But there's also other things to consider. I think it's nice to do physical, local pop-up events, virtual or even virtual wellness workshops that feature experts in women's health, things like that, things that would really get the community kickstarted. Because again, at the end of the day, it's community-driven product selection that you're looking for. And things like personalized wellness journeys, just go beyond sending out sending products by creating personalized, like you could say, hey, we'll do a personalized monthly wellness plan that's tailored to each individual subscriber, for instance. I think the focus here should be on building that community, whether it is a combination of using micro influencers, they're going to be talking about the product, or taking people through the experience of the product. One thing I'm going to say is trust networks are currently they are peer-to-peer. They're not vendor to customer like they used to be back in the day. Back in the day, you would rely on customers telling you about how great on vendors telling you about how great the product is. Right now, you're relying on other people who are currently using the product to spread the news. So you got to focus on that. The change, this changes everything about referrals, right? And that means your product recommendations travel through those networks, not just through your sales pitch or through you displaying your product or service at a pop-up and stuff. So focus on getting those testimonials and then getting people talking about that in that community.
Thank you very much, Nadine.
Right. I think you're right. It is a crowded market. So if you are going broad, I think you're going to struggle to get a standout. Think about partnerships. Who else in the market already has some traction that you can partner with that doesn't necessarily have the solution that you're providing? Because then what you're doing is you're helping out both the person you're partnering with, and also you're elevating your reach to a significant level that you couldn't do by yourself. Now, I don't know if you're going one-to-one, because when I read the question, it says you're struggling to attract and retain customers, which may be because you're doing it on a one-to-one basis. I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you try and launch with someone that's bigger than you, or try to connect with someone else that's going to help you reach the target market, that's going to be better. And then the final thing I'll say is, because it's a crowded market, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. I would have a look at something you can do that's completely different. Can you do some kind of guerrilla marketing? Can you pop up and do something that's completely taboo? You know, I've seen some very interesting looking inflatables floating down the Thames that have done great things for like impotence, or then things like that are a bit more taboo. Think about what you can do that can garner so much attention that people have no option but to find out who you are. And then typically when you get a lot of people at the top of the funnel, you will get more people actually going down to convert. So try something different, partner with someone that doesn't have what you need, and therefore leverage your USP by reaching a bigger audience, and therefore hoping to get more conversions at the end. Yeah, good luck with that.
I mean, the cruelty of fits, Nadine, throwing impotent people down the Thames. That's
No.
cruel.
It was a blow up that was going down the Thames. I mean, you couldn't notice it. Also, Borat, when he launched his movie, did a similar thing. There's some funny things that you can do that will get people's attention, that will make you stand out from everyone else. Okay, that isn't an influencer campaign or something. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Sorry, you scared me for a second. Anyway, I think we've got Dave and then Miles, please.
All right. Two things from me. The first one is, you say you're struggling to attract and retain some subscribers. Focus on retaining subscribers. Look, it's bloody difficult to get subscribers in the first place. So once you've got them, try as hard as you can to keep them. And if you can't, then talk to them, find out why they're leaving, and fix that problem first, because there's no point attracting 100,000 customers if they're all going to leave in a month's time. Fix the retention problem first. And secondly, with regards to ways to generate new subscribers and generate new business, maybe look a little bit closer to home. You're a university spin-out. And I'm sure you've done your target audience and ideal customer profiles, but universities would seem to be a perfect fit for this type of product. So obviously start with your own university, but then work with the other universities and their entrepreneurial sides and the spin-outs that occur off of every university, and try and leverage that network that you're already a part of to grow potentially a niche around delivering women's health and wellness products to university students. Maybe that's an initial niche that you can dominate and have that as your differentiator to give yourself something different.
Thank you, Dave. Last but not least, Miles, please.
Thanks. I think from my side, obviously attracting and retaining are two very different sciences in that sense. It would be good to know what the service is, and how busy the market is, and how much you need to differentiate. There's no mention here about how I would go about finding the box, the service itself. Is your SEO up to scratch? Is the website absolutely optimized? And I would suggest taking a step back and stripping that back. The algorithm, especially within Google, especially with the march of AI, especially ChatGPT, is changing SEO overnight, and it's really critical to have a lot of time and effort and strategy around your site. I would also go back to those subscribers who did join you and had then lapsed, and ask them why. You could say to them, we'll give you an extra 2 months, or or even not. Most people are quite happy to answer a few questions one-on-one and just ask them why they've lapsed, because without that information and that insight, all of everything we're all saying is kind of mute. But yeah, I think in terms of where you are, I would 100% start at the website. I would 100% start asking the lapsed oh my god, lapsed users, subscribers, why they left.
Right, Joe, thank you very much for that. Just piggybacking on something that I think it was Dave that mentioned, what I would do is, again, I'm assuming here that you've done your research, you know what makes you stand out from the others. You're not just starting something for the sake of it, but you've actually done your research and you know you can offer, or what you're offering, it's more helpful or cheaper or better or whatever it may be than others. So pretending or assuming you've done that, what I would do is I've just done a quick search. There are 8,000 staff members at Birmingham University, and there's at least 40% of them that are women. So I would find a way to get to the office of the Chancellor and the HR director or chief people officer, or whatever the term may be, and say, we would like to offer these at a heavily discounted rate to the female staff members at Birmingham University. Once they've tried that, then you may want to try and open it to the students. Now, ideally, the students would be great because there's, I can't remember now, 30,000 or however many students, 38,000 students at Birmingham University, and there's about 300,000 alumni. Now, you could offer that to the students, but my assumption here would be that, people at that age, they're probably not going to be as disciplined to order these subscription boxes and what have you, but they may. I think the world has moved on and youngsters are not as erratic and as drunk averse as we were at my age. So perhaps they're more mature. But personally, I would definitely start with the staff and then maybe extend it to other staff members at other universities and be known for, the company that offers this to university or academia staff and then maybe public sector and so on. Because I think you've got something there.
Yeah,
Right,
good idea.
Thank you. So we've got 6 minutes to go. I think one more question, since the people on the live streams aren't making it as much or as in high numbers as I was hoping, and the ones that are here seem to be quite shy. But we'll go on to another question that was sent in. This is Cybertech 13. Okay, so one of 3 co-founders in Manchester. They're at seed stage. We've developed a tool to help small businesses. My God, I kept reading that in my head, smash businesses. Small businesses manage data protection compliance, but many see compliance as a burden. How can we shift this perception and highlight the advantages of using our tool? Should we create educational content and emphasize that emphasizes that the benefits of compliance, or offer a free initial consultation to demonstrate value? You bleeding said this yourself. They see compliance as a burden. So you've got something that will rid those people of that burden. Just focus on that. Anyway, let's start with Miles. Then we go to Nadine. Then we'll go to Dave. Then we'll go to Barry, please.
Thanks, Anton. Yeah, I absolutely. I think you've answered this yourself. And free initial consultation, absolutely. And whilst it's negative, you can spin it in a certain way. The ICO are all over small businesses for data compliance and compliances of all sorts. And I think that's really important. And when I launched my own business, I had reams and reams and reams of letters coming through saying, have you done this and have you done that? And of course, you're building a business. The last thing you want to do is do this. So a free initial consultation is how my solicitor found me and how my accountant found me. And it was half an hour. It wasn't a lot of time on their behalf, but they suddenly removed anything legal from me and anything from a finance point of view and payroll and so on. So 100% free initial consultation. But I think from a negative point of view, you could be seen as the knight in shining armor, coming in and removing, you've mentioned it, removing this burden. Because ultimately, when you start a business and when you're in that small startup stage, there's so much paperwork, and you are worried about falling through and falling foul of certain legislation. So yeah, I think exactly what I would do.
I'm gonna build on from there. Also, the ICO is a bit confusing, because if you do their checklist, it says you're fine, but then they'll send you a letter and say you're not fine.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Right. So okay. So yeah,
Good
look,
point.
I'm going to build on from the last great bits of insight. So can you then, after you've done your consultation, do like a 5-day compliance cleanup challenge or something? We've got to make it really easy for the end users and the founders to be able to take the advice that you have and go through it as quickly as possible. Also helpful for you, because then you create kind of a template that you can use, and you'll probably then create a couple of spin-off bespoke templates. But essentially, over those 5 days, what you're going to do is, okay, these are the things you should look through, which of those assigned to your business. Okay, great, you pick the ones that do. Then you go through and actually complete those compliance. You can get, your business can check that, make sure it's going through. And then once you get to the end of that challenge, you get some kind of certification or a summary pack that helps you tick off and check off the list that you've done everything. We just need to take the burden off the founders that are so busy doing 101 other things, and also don't really know what they're doing for compliance. So make it easy, make it fun, do your consultation for free, and then put them in a time scale so they can quickly get it done. And also that might help you get more customers. Also add in a referral thing. If they're happy with the service you provided, most founders know loads of other founders, so they will then go and refer it to their network, give them some kind of reward, and then off you go. You've got 5 new customers ready to go. Sounds good, actually. I wish you were helping me when I was trying to do my compliance. Good luck with it. Good luck with everything.
All right, I'm going to buck the trend a little bit. I'm going to disagree with the former panelists. I agree in the sense that compliance is a burden, right? Compliance is boring. No one wants to do it. I don't think you can make compliance fun. That's where I disagree. I've been working in the document management and information governance space over the last 20 years. It's not fun. But what you've got to figure out is where people are spending money in similar areas. And you mentioned that you're in cybertech. Cybersecurity, firewalls, data privacy, all of those areas are areas where CIOs and the board are spending money because they know the damage that comes when you get hacked, when you have a data breach. So my advice would be to go and try and figure out which companies people are already spending their money on in those areas, and potentially go partner with them. Go shoehorn your product in with an overall cybersecurity or an information governance suite. Don't try and do this on your own. Go and figure out who has already sold into these companies in similar areas. Go partner with them and go get your product sold alongside of those tools that are already there.
Right. So I guess we've established that cybersecurity is boring. But here's the thing. I think I'm gonna go a little bit tactical here, and say there are ways you can do this. I think like one great idea would be to create some kind of a compliance checklist. You can do that in the way of a form. You can do that in the way of a chat bot, where people just go out and fill out a form, and then they get to see how compliant they are. There's lots of other ways that you can gamify this. Gamify, turn it into a game or challenge. I can't remember at the top of my head, but I remember seeing this cybersecurity organization. It's a nonprofit, and they've developed a dice game where you roll the dice and you kind of role play, and it gives you different scenarios. And I thought that made the whole cybersecurity positioning really, really interesting. So you can do something like that. Another thing is, I think when you're like, we have a cybersecurity client, and what we've done is we're putting together educational sort of workshops, live in-person workshops in central London. So people just come, and get to know about compliance in general, compliance specific to AI, for example. And I think it's just a matter of doing the reps. The first one we did, we got 7 people attending. The second one was 10. We're doing our 6th one, which is going to be the last one for this before the summer break, and we've got like 40 people attending those ones. So, and at some point these will convert because they're top of funnel conversations that we're building here. So I think that education and creating that demand generation perspective is really, really important. And also, one other thing I would say is try and showcase compliance as a growth opportunity. I think it's position it as a legal requirement. So that way it'll make it easier for people to think, oh, I really need to be compliant. Like, I know a lot of top level government organizations, when you're pitching for contracts, you need to be SOC 2 compliant or SOC 3 compliant or whatever. I don't know what the compliance is. It changes all the time. But if these people have that as a badge of honor, it helps them get through the door at least. So sell that in your marketing message.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more? Do we have Miles, I think, or are we all done?
All done. I started.
We're all done.
done.
Brilliant. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. Right, Joe. Well, thank you very much, everyone. One last thing on this compliance thing. I was quite impressed a while ago by a web design company. This chap had gone and looked at various websites. They'd made a list, and he'd made a 1-minute video talking about the things that he thought I need to change about my website. And you could probably do the same thing in terms of compliance. And I really like that idea of having like a compliance chatbot where, you do that 1-minute video, and then you say, if you'd like to find out more, how about you click here and talk to our chatbot or whatever it may be, basically. And I think, that might attract a bit more people. Now, yes, I know it's a bit tedious because you've got to go one by one. But you could easily do, I don't know, 20, 30 of those every day, literally. And before you know it, you've gone through hundreds of people in a couple of months, and somebody eventually will start coming in. We are now 3 minutes over the line, which means we need to wrap this up. I'm sorry, panelists, that I've kept you a few minutes over. Huge thanks to everyone that joined us. Perhaps some quick parting words. We'll start again with the lady of the house, and then perhaps Dave, Barry, and last but not least, Miles. Nadine?
Right. I would say approach everything with a can-do attitude. Miles' mindset is everything when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's not for everyone. The thing that I think differentiates people that are happy to just have a 9 to 5 or a normal job, then entrepreneurship is that can-do mindset, and it's going to be tough to keep that up. But if you can work on that and tackle everything as a challenge and a win and a learning and an overcome, you will go really, really far. So good luck, keep your spirits up, and don't forget to take a break, because entrepreneurship is hard. Thanks very much for having me, Anton, and please do connect with me on LinkedIn. The message is in the chat. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Nadine. Next.
Great stuff. I think that the one thing that I would say is that if you notice, most of the questions today followed a similar pattern, right? And they're all talking about how to generate new clients, generate new leads rather, how to close business, how to go to market. What I would say is that you're not alone here, right? As an entrepreneur, there are several people in exactly the same situation that you are. So my advice to you would be to make use of forums like this, make use of the communities that are out there, to talk to your peers, to realize that you're not an island, and to get whatever advice and solidarity that you can from the other entrepreneurs that are out there. Anton, again, thank you very much for having me. Great session today.
Thank you, Barry.
Right. So I'm going to leave with three bits of advice. One, learn to be bulletproof. And by that, I mean, you're going to get a lot of criticism as an entrepreneur. A lot of people are going to doubt you, a lot of naysayers, but you've got to develop that Teflon coating and just power on regardless of what's happening around you. That's the first thing. The second thing is Remember, done is better than perfect. So don't strive for perfection with everything that you do. Sometimes it's just better to just get whatever you're doing, get the product, get the service out there, get some feedback, and then work on improving it. And the third thing, like Nadine said, take a break. Learn to take a break. Learn to stop, because entrepreneurship is really tough and it's taxing physically, mentally, emotionally, and you need to take the break every now and then. Good luck, and Anton, thanks for having me and everyone else. It was great being a part of this panel. And if you guys want to connect, you can do so on LinkedIn.
Thanks, Barry. Miles?
Yeah, thanks. I think that the most important part of certainly journeys that I've been dealing with founders, co-founders, raisers of cash to get their businesses off is persistence. I think it's really, really hard to actually break through all of the negativity that you're likely to get. But sometimes the negativity can be the learning. And as I mentioned earlier on, in terms of if a subscriber pulls out, why? But persistence is really, really critical. And you will have a lot of no's. I mean, a lot of doors will be closed. But I think some great advice here: surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, surround yourself. There's lots of forums like this where you can get advice. Everyone wants to help, because the ideal here is to get businesses off the ground. And then focus, the one inch deep and 6 miles wide scenario. That's something for the future. No company was built overnight. When Zuckerberg started Facebook, it was in one university, one dorm, and look at it now. So it's very, very critical to be focused at the beginning and not spread yourself too wide. And the breaks are very, very critical. Take the dog for a walk. And if you haven't got a dog, just go for a walk. Thanks for having me, Anton.
Thank you very much, Miles. Huge thanks to all 4 panelists today. Thank you, obviously, to those that tuned in, especially those of you that were here on the Microsoft Teams audio call, and of course, those of you on the live streams. Next time, please make sure that we all join here on Microsoft Teams. Just a couple of things before my parting words. Number one, please feel free to join our WhatsApp community. I've put a link here in the chat on Microsoft Teams, or you could go to our website, startup2scaleup.club. At the top and bottom of the site, there's a WhatsApp icon. We've got groups of founders, investors, and operators that you can join and engage peer-to-peer. We run 6 regular sessions helping founders, or trying to at least, help founders go from startup to scale up with on-demand, tailored advice delivered by amazing people who've been there and done it. So those sessions are Mondays talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of the month it's UK startup law, which will be on Friday this week, and third week of the month it's UK startup finances. That all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. You can RSVP to any of them by our site, startup2scaleup.club. We'd appreciate it if you wouldn't mind sharing the news with other fellow founders about this opportunity. Now, hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow for startup fundraising. We've got some amazing investors and fundraising experts joining us at 12 o'clock. Again, you can RSVP to tomorrow's session and all the others by our site, startup2scaleup.club. As far as my parting words are concerned, just remember, the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun in the meantime and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, huge thanks again and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Anton.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.